It was a dark and cold night. The streets of the city were eerily quiet, with only the occasional sound of footsteps echoing through the empty alleys. In a small room, a young girl named Amana sat by the window, staring out into the darkness. The silence weighed heavily on her chest. She had been struggling for months with her own thoughts, wondering why happiness seemed so far away, despite all the efforts she had made to find it. Little did she know, tonight would change everything. The wind howled outside, and as she pulled her shawl tighter around her shoulders, a knock on the door startled her. Amina hesitated for a moment, her heart racing. Who could it be at this hour? She walked cautiously toward the door and opened it just a crack, peering out into the dimly lit corridor. Standing before her was a man she had never seen before. He was tall, with deep-set eyes that seemed to reflect a world of knowledge and mystery. "Can I come in?" he asked, his voice calm yet filled with an undeniable urgency. Amina, though hesitant, stepped aside, allowing him to enter. She had no idea that this man would change her life forever. As the man entered, Amina couldn't shake off the feeling that she had met him somewhere before, though she couldn't place it. He seemed familiar in a strange, unsettling way. The man sat down without waiting for an invitation, his gaze fixed on Amina. "I know what you're struggling with," he said quietly. Amina's eyes widened. "How do you know?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I've been watching you," he replied, "and I have the answers you're looking for." Amina felt a shiver run down her spine. She had heard of people who claimed to have the answers to life's greatest questions, but something about this man felt different. The room felt colder as the man began to speak. "You have been searching for happiness, but you're looking in the wrong places," he said. Amina listened intently, her curiosity piqued. "Happiness," he continued, "is not something you can find outside of yourself. It's not in material things, nor is it in other people's approval. It lies within you, but you're holding it back." Amina felt a pang of confusion. "What do you mean?" she asked. "You are the one who has been standing in your own way, not the world around you. You're trapped in your mind, chasing after fleeting desires that will never fulfill you." Amina's mind raced. Could this man really know what was troubling her? She had spent so much time trying to find the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect life, believing that all these external things would bring her happiness. But no matter how hard she tried, something was always missing. "But how do I change?" she asked, her voice breaking. "You have to stop seeking outside of yourself," the man said. "You must learn to embrace what you have now and find joy in the present moment. Happiness is not a destination. It's a way of being. Once you realize that, the world will begin to change for you." The man's words echoed in Amina's mind as she lay in bed that night. Could it really be that simple? Could her constant search for happiness be the very thing that was keeping her from it? She realized that she had been living in the future, constantly worried about what would happen next, instead of living in the now. The next morning, she decided to test the man's advice. She went to the park, not to run errands or meet anyone, but simply to enjoy the beauty around her. The sun was shining, children were laughing, and for the first time in months, she felt a sense of peace. Days passed, and Amina began to feel a shift inside her. She stopped focusing on what she didn't have and started appreciating what she did. She began to notice the little things that brought her joy: the warmth of the sun, the sound of birds chirping, the smiles of strangers. It was as though a veil had been lifted from her eyes, and she could see the world in a new light. the more she focused on the present, the happier she became. Her once stressful job started to feel less overwhelming, and her relationships became more fulfilling. One day, as Amina sat in a cafe sipping her coffee, she saw the mysterious man once again. He was sitting at a corner table, watching her with a knowing smile. Amina walked over to him, her heart full of gratitude. "Thank you," she said. "I understand now. Happiness really does come from within." The man nodded, his expression kind. "You were always capable of finding it," he said. "You just needed to believe in yourself and trust the process." Amina felt a deep sense of peace settle within her. She knew now that happiness wasn't something she had to chase. It was something she had to allow. As the weeks passed, Amina's life continued to improve. She found herself more at ease, more content with who she was and where she was in life. The pressure to be perfect faded, and she embraced her flaws as part of her journey. The man never visited again, but his words stayed with her, guiding her through moments of doubt. Amina learned that true happiness wasn't about accumulating wealth or success. It was about peace, contentment, and acceptance of the present moment. Years later, Amina became a mentor to others who were struggling with finding happiness. She shared the lessons she had learned, teaching them how to look within and embrace the now. She often thought back to that cold night when the mysterious man had knocked on her door. She never saw him again, but she realized that the answers he gave her were timeless. Happiness wasn't a secret to be discovered. It was a choice to be made every single day. Amina finally understood that true happiness wasn't about what you had, but how you chose to see the world.